Hey guys, it's Brandon, and welcome back to another episode of Nature Meets Paper, the place where we go on an adventure to discover the world of marine biology. I hope you all had a wonderful Easter break. I took the weekend off. I know I should have had this video up during the weekend, but it was a holiday, so I wanted to spend time with family, so I'm going to do this today. So this is part one of part two of my painting that I'm calling Sun Rays. And the reason that I'm going to call it Sun Rays is because one half of the painting is the sun. I took the picture in Lahaina, Maui back in December, and the other half is a picture of a manta ray. My family took this picture when we were in Atlantis in the Bahamas, and so I combined them together in Photoshop and created this piece for you guys. So today's piece is going to be on the land part above the water with the sunset, and I hope you all enjoy. Are you ready? Let's go. Alright, let's get started. So the first thing that I do is that I block out and draw on a piece of tracing paper, on a separate piece of tracing paper for this piece. What I do is then I block out all my top section. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do from the horizon above, I'm going to block out the land. So I want to get my darks in as soon as possible, that way I can get a range of values so I know exactly where I'm going. So I'm going to work on the land and the clouds, and I'm going to get my dark areas in before I get my lights, because I typically tend to work from dark to light, from back to forward. So I start my paintings and I go in the background and I try and get as far away from the viewer as possible. Then I try and work my way forward or to my main subject in the piece. So that'll become in part two. Today I'm mainly working with oranges, yellows, whites, and blacks, and a little bit of blue for the coolness in the clouds. In this whole time I can change up what's in my head, I can look at my reference photo, make sure that I get the details in where I really want them. So my lighter colors, I'm going to go into like a light brown orange. It's kind of more, it's an earthy, warm tone. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to do layout where I want those, and then I'm going to work all the way into my light colors, my lightest colors. So my lightest colors are of course going to be where the sun is setting. That's going to be my light source. Now these all take several layers to do. I know it looks a little strange to begin with, but it all comes together really nicely. Now I'm using acrylics, so they don't blend as smoothly as an oil paint would, but I personally don't like working with oils. I like the ease and the non-toxicity of the acrylics, and so I use acrylic, and I can try and get a little bit of the same effects or similar effects as oils. It just takes me a little bit more time than an oil painter would. I use water to mix with my acrylics to get them a little bit looser, more of an ink consistency, but I have to be careful not to get too much water in my pieces, because that'll make the adhesion of the paint not stick to my canvas. So after I've laid out all of that, I'm still going to work on my clouds. I'm going to make sure that everything looks nice, get a little touch-ups here and there, darker darks, some lighter lights, kind of blend it all together, and keep looking at my reference photo as to where things should go. Next, I'm going to be working on the water surface, so that's going to be the reflections and the shadows from the island. And then finally, I'm going to be working on the little boats and sailboats that are out in the harbor of my reference photo. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to block in where I want my lights and oranges to go. So I'm going to go from light to dark, mimicking and making the shadows. And so I'm going to use a little bit of a yellow oxide on this one as my main colors for this, adding a little bit of titanium white. So I'm going to get horizontal strokes, make sure, because that gives the appearance of water, and then I'm going to go in with my blacks and my dark browns and a little bit of blue of where the blue of the clouds are. And make sure that everything is very horizontal with this because you want it to look like it's going off into the distance. Later in the piece, when this whole thing is done, when this whole piece is done, I'm going to add some glitter and some sparkle to the water to make it look like it's dancing. Because if you've seen a sunset over the water, it looks like there's tiny little like dots of rays, or it's really glittery and sparkly. And I want to replicate that too, and it also catches the attention of the viewer as they walk by. So finally what I'm going to do is I'm going to be working on these little boats. I'm going to be putting them in there, and that just adds a little extra depth. Once these are done and I like the way it looks, then I'm going to be moving on to the underwater portion, and that will be next week. So I hope you enjoyed. I'm going to call it done for right now. And I hope you enjoyed this piece, and tune in for next week's episode. I want to thank everyone for watching. Part 2 will be coming up next week, or this weekend. I want to thank everyone for your patience with me and showing interest in supporting this channel. I've been Brandon, and I'll see you in our next adventure.